So my scripture reading is from Colossians chapter 3, verses 12 through 14. Therefore, God's chosen one, holy and loved, put on heartfelt compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, accepting one another and forgiving one another if anyone has a complaint against another. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so also you must forgive. Above all, put on love, the perfect bond of unity. I guess I will start with a joke. So if anybody ever asks you why we should trust Jesus to take the wheel, because there isn't any biblical evidence that he could even parallel park, you can say, everybody knows that Jesus drove a Honda, because according to John 12:49, he says, "For I speak not of my own accord." So in the spring of last year, while I was still at Regis University, I took a class called Faith Doing Justice. One of the requirements for the class was going on an immersion trip to East Los Angeles over spring break to learn about community-based change. I was very fortunate to be able to go before the coronavirus shut everything down, seeing as Regis went completely online by the end of the week we got back. Anyways, I'm excited to share with you what I learned because the trip was centered on a church that had transformed its community, and I know that we are hoping to do the same. The church is a Jesuit Catholic parish called Dolores Mission Church, located in the Boyle Heights neighborhood in East LA. Yet before we even saw Dolores Mission Church, our professors took us to the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels, perhaps so we could juxtapose the two churches. I will do the same by describing the Cathedral of Our Lady of Angels first. It is a massive building rendered in modern architectural style with Spanish marble floors and a capacity for 3,000 people. It has a large mausoleum in the basement where Gregory Peck and other prestigious people are buried. It costs over $200 million to build. Camps of homeless people under their tents and tarps on the sidewalks nearby provided a stark contrast to the cathedral's extravagance. On our walk back to our van, we saw that one of the tents had caught on fire. While a fire truck had arrived and was hosing it down with water, we knew that the person had truly lost everything. In true Regis student fashion, we came back later in the week to pass out PB&Js and turkey and cheese sandwiches to these people after being moved by what we had seen the day earlier. I remember one woman was really happy that we had turkey and cheese sandwiches because she'd been to prison and said that they fed her PB&Js all the time. So she was just really grateful for something different. Dolores Mission Church is located amongst two large housing projects, the Pico Gardens and Aliso Village. There are 850 total parishioners, but the building is only big enough to hold about 240 people. 6 masses are said every weekend, and all of them are in Spanish except the one at 9:00 a.m. on Sunday. That one's in English, and that's the one we went to while we were there. One of the sermon's main points that day was, "You're never too poor to give or too rich to receive." My experiences and observations on this trip prove these words true. Shin-high scuff marks line the walls around the sanctuary in Dolores Mission Church because they set up cots for homeless men every night. Proyecto Pastoral, a nonprofit down the street that sprouted from the parish, provides a shelter for homeless senior women. When the church first started doing their ministry to the homeless, some of the parishioners complained about the smell of unwashed bodies left behind in the mornings, until one parishioner said that the church smelled like their commitment to doing what Jesus would do. They solved the problem by removing the carpet instead of giving up on their ministry, and it has since flourished. After the Mass, we had lunch in the church's courtyard. They call these lunches ventas, which I think means like a sale in Spanish. because all the proceeds go towards helping people in need, whether they are in the church community, the broader community, or as far away as Central and South America. Different families in the church sign up to cook the meals, and the food is delicious. We stayed in parishioners' homes the first 2 nights we were in LA. The woman I stayed with, her name was Anna, told me that she had been opening up her home to students for 8 years. Schools throughout the nation send their students to LA to learn about Dolores Mission Church and its ministries. While we were in LA, a group from the University of Michigan was also doing an immersion trip. Anna showed us further hospitality by cooking us a homemade meal one night. She made taquitos, which are fried tortillas stuffed with chicken, with beans and fried chicken and veggies on the side, and sour cream, tomato sauce, and cheese as toppings. Shortly after supper, Anna went to bed because she gets up every morning to begin making breakfast at 3:00 a.m. for the homeless people who spend the night in the church. Breakfast is served in the Dolores Mission School cafeteria, which is just across the street from the church. Our group helped Anna prepare breakfast 2 of the days we were there, as is customary for immersion group experiences. Our group, when I served, we made eggs, cheese, or sausage, potato triangles, and toast. And we didn't have to stay to clean up because some of the homeless people do it as a way of thanking Anna and the volunteers for breakfast. Once again, you're never too poor to give or too rich to receive. The church was built in 1925 and the school followed in 1950. Dolores Mission School has an after-school program called Underwings. The immersion experience groups run different activities with them, and the activity we chose to lead was origami. While playing with the kids, we met a couple of 6-year-olds who didn't know when their birthdays are because their parents cannot afford to buy them presents. More than half of the parish households make less than $25,000 per year, and 75% earn less than $35,000. All of the 250 K-8 students at Dolores Mission School qualify for subsidized lunches. Most of the school's graduates are the first in their families to complete high school. 85% of the students come from Spanish-speaking households and have to close a 2-year reading gap as English learners. Some of the school's alumni have had the chance to go to college, and many of them want to return to the community to continue to create positive, sustainable change. After our homestays, we spent the rest of the nights in the school's art room on air mattresses that the school provided for us. One of the parishioners, a woman named Rita, spoke to us about the church's restorative justice ministry. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term restorative justice, I've created a table outlining some of the major differences between restorative justice and retributive justice, which is what our criminal justice system uses. So restorative justice defines a crime as an act against another person in the community, while retributive justice defines it as an act against the state or a violation of the law. And offender accountability is defined as assuming responsibility and taking action to repair harm in restorative justice, whereas it's defined as taking a punishment in retributive justice. And victims are central to the process of resolving a crime in restorative justice, whereas they are peripheral to the process in retributive justice. Restorative justice focuses on problem solving and future prevention. It does have lower recidivism rates. But retributive justice focuses on establishing blame or guilt for past behaviors. There is an emphasis on dialogue and negotiation in restorative justice, but retributive justice emphasizes adversarial relationships, like between the prosecution and the defense. Participants are directly involved in restorative justice, but they depend upon proxy individuals like lawyers and judges and juries in retributive justice. And then the goal of restorative justice is to restore and reconcile by making restitution and repairing harm, but the goal of retributive justice is to punish the offender by isolating them from the community often in a prison. So after learning what restorative justice is, Rita led us through a role-playing exercise. The premise was that a young man had been killed by another young man in a rival gang. We were each assigned a character: the perpetrator, the victim's mother, the perpetrator's girlfriend, the EMT who arrived on scene, etc. Then we reflected on what our characters would be feeling after the death and what they could do to help heal the community. So for instance, my character was a store owner. I said that I would be sad that the community had lost another young person, and that if I was a parent, I would be afraid that one day my children would become victims of gang violence. I said that I could help by serving as a mentor to my young employees, and that I could make donations to the victim's family. The point of this exercise was that every crime affects a lot of people. A British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar theorized that we as humans can maintain meaningful relationships with 150 other people. If that's the case, then each crime potentially impacts 300 plus people, resulting in a ripple effect. Rita argued that restorative justice is better at repairing the harm done to the whole network than retributive justice is. The highlight of the trip was visiting Homeboy Industries. A Jesuit priest, Father Gregory Boyle, served as the pastor at Dolores Mission Church from 1986 to 1992. When he started in 1986, the surrounding housing projects had the highest concentration of gang activity in LA, which has a reputation as the gang capital of the world. Inspired by the parishioners and with their help, he founded Homeboy Industries, the largest gang rehabilitation and reentry program in the world. Regis sent me a copy of his book called Tattoos on the Heart the summer before my freshman year. So visiting Homeboy Industries in person during my final semester of college was a cool way for my education to come full circle. The day we visited Homeboy Industries, an inspiring woman named Lisa was our tour guide. She told us her story. Her mom lived for the night and was often high on cocaine. So from the age of 6, she raised herself and her little brother. At age 12, her mom dropped her off in the neighborhood park, and she was initiated into a gang for which she would become the shot caller. Since she was now homeless, she slept on benches. One night, a prostitute got upset with Lisa for sleeping on a bench in her neighborhood because she didn't want any competition. When she found out that Lisa was in a gang, though, she and some other prostitutes had Lisa become their pimp. She was still just 12 years old. She said that since then, she's done a lot of things she's not proud of, like stealing cars. But after 4 tries, she finally walked through the doors of Homeboy Industries. At age 52, after a year and a half at Homeboy Industries, she was turning her life around for her kids. One of her kids is a middle schooler, and Lisa studies with her and is learning how to read. She's a resurrected person, and Homeboy Industries is full of resurrected people. Homeboy Industries offers a variety of services to past and present gang members, including tattoo removal, education. They can earn their GED credentials and high school diplomas, and even receive preparation for college classes. Parenting classes, anger management classes, substance abuse support, mental health services, legal assistance, and workforce development, where they can build resumes, develop and practice interviewing skills, do job searches, and even receive job placements, as a lot of local businesses in LA partner with Homeboy Industries. Homeboy Industries also has a variety of social enterprises. There's a bakery, the Homegirl Cafe, Homeboy Silk Screen and Embroidery, and electronics recycling. After our tour of Homeboy Industries, we ate at Homegirl Cafe, and most of the food is locally grown, so it was really tasty. The philosophy behind Homeboy Industries is all about compassion. Rival gang members work alongside each other, and as they work towards a common goal, the barriers are dismantled and kinship develops. As Father Boyle writes in Tattoos on the Heart, compassion is always, at its most authentic, about a shift from the cramped world of self-preoccupation into a more expansive place of fellowship, of true kinship. The parishioners at Dolores Mission Church started all their ministries by reaching outside of themselves and asking the question, what is it like to be you? Only after asking this question did the parishioners of Dolores Mission Church know what their community's needs were, and only then were they able to start effectively addressing the community's needs. In the case of the gang members, they needed jobs. An organization called Jobs for the Future was formed, and it eventually developed into Homeboy Industries. Organizations around the world now use Homeboy Industries as a model. Compassion is something both rich and poor have to give and can receive. Compassion moved the Dolores Mission Church parishioners to transform their community. Compassion often moved Jesus to heal people. How will we let compassion move us?